July 11th, 2026. 69 seconds into UFC 329, Conor McGregor is on the canvas, clutching his knee, and Max Holloway is standing over him, waiting for the ref to wave it off. Now hold that image next to 2018. 2 belts, 1 neck. The biggest pay-per-view name the sport ever produced. A guy who turned a scrappy Dublin kid into a global brand. That's the version most fans still carry around in their heads. So how does that man end up finished in barely a minute, 5 years removed from a real fight? This isn't just a loss. It's the last page of a fall that started long before he ever touched the scale for Holloway. To find where it started, you have to go back to the peak, right before the first crack showed up. This is the tragic fall of Conor McGregor. By 2018, McGregor wasn't just a champion, he was the promotion. 2-division belt holder, the biggest draw the UFC ever had, a name recognized far outside the sport. Almost nobody in this game reaches that level. Then, August 2017 happened. The Mayweather fight wasn't a title defense. It was a boxing exhibition, and it paid McGregor more than most fighters see across an entire career. That payday changed his relationship to fighting. Once you make that kind of money outside the cage, a normal UFC purse stops feeling like the only move. It becomes a choice, not a necessity. You can see that choice play out. Less time in the gym, more time running a whiskey brand and chasing outside ventures. None of that's a crime, but it came with a quiet cost. Gaps in camps, gaps in his timeline, gaps that didn't used to exist. April 2018 gives you the first real crack, and it's not in the cage. At Barclays Center, McGregor throws a dolly through a bus window carrying other fighters. Arrest, felony charges, headlines that have nothing to do with his skill set. The same fire that made him magnetic starts working against him. In October 2018, he fights Khabib Nurmagomedov and taps out in the 4th round. One loss to a legitimate great, sure, but the layoffs are getting longer. The noise is getting louder, and retirement talk starts circling a man who's supposed to be in his prime. The real turning point wasn't that fight. It's what happened after. July 2021. The trilogy fight with Dustin Poirier. At the base of the cage, McGregor's leg snaps, and that's the moment that changes the shape of his whole story. You've seen the clip. It's not a highlight, it's closer to a car crash. The leg buckling in a direction legs aren't built to bend. A 2-division champion reduced to a stretcher, and the clock on his prime starts running out in real time. A broken leg is supposed to be a setback measured in months. For McGregor, it turns into years. The recovery drags, and what should have been a return by early 2022 slides into 2023, then 2024, with no real fight in sight. While the leg's supposed to be healing, the legal battles keep stacking. A civil case tied to serious accusations eats up calendar space that should have been camp time, court dates instead of fight dates. Then the pattern sets in. Promised comebacks that never show up. A date gets floated, fans get excited, then it gets pulled and pushed to some vague future window. Run that loop enough times and it stops being bad luck. It becomes the story itself. Meanwhile, the rest of the sport moves on. Fighters at 155 and 170 keep stacking wins against real competition, and McGregor's name stays big, but his standing as a live threat keeps shrinking. Being a legend and being a threat are 2 different currencies, and he's spending down the second one fast. 1 win in nearly a decade. 1. For a fighter who once held 2 belts at the same time, that's not a rough patch. That's a champion in steep decline. And it's true before he ever steps in against Holloway. The build-up to UFC 329 sold a real comeback. Press conferences, cameras, McGregor talking like a man with something to prove. But the tape told a different story. He was 5 years removed from meaningful competition, stepping in against a durable, hungry Holloway who'd stayed live the whole time McGregor was in courtrooms and recovery rooms. McGregor's knee gave out early in round 1. Holloway read it instantly and closed the door. 69 seconds, TKO, and a public collapse on the biggest stage the sport could give him. The retirement announcement landed less like a shock and more like paperwork, confirming what the last 5 years had already built toward. The same fire that turned a scrappy Dublin kid into the biggest name this sport ever built is the fire that refused to let him fade on his own terms. And that's the tragedy. A man who had every chance to walk away and couldn't take it.